What's going on, listeners? Welcome back to Matt Goes to the Movies, edition that I'm really excited about because not only do I get to talk about A Quiet Place Part 2, but I get to do it with the host of the Basement Binge. Harrison is back for this episode. One of my favorite people to talk to about movies, so really excited to have him. Harrison, welcome.
Thank you. That was quite the intro. I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this review together since we planned it, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, A Quiet Place, when it first came out, obviously we're going to talk about part 2 here, but I think took everybody really by storm. Obviously, it took the box office by storm. Reviews were really positive for it, and it was something immediately that people, at least the circles that I talked to, wanted to see more of this universe that John Krasinski created. At first, he wasn't really keen on doing it, and it looked like the studio was going to do it no matter what. And he really wanted to keep this as his own. Found a, idea for A Quiet Place 2, and man, this is one of those, situations where this is not a sequel for the sake of a sequel. It builds a little bit on the universe that's created. You can tell this was a topic and a creation that he cares about, and it really shines through in A Quiet Place 2 that this wasn't just a cash grab for him. This is something that he wanted to do. And usually you don't get that with sequels, especially when it's so box office friendly. So I was really glad to see him come back for this, Harrison.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I'll probably talk about it a lot more, but the showing that I went to is one that I specifically seeked out, if that's the right way to say it, because it had a live Q&A with John Krasinski right afterwards, which was pretty cool. But I've done like tons of research. I had done an episode on A Quiet Place, so I'd watched tons of interviews and the behind the scenes type things. Like A Quiet Place, the original, was like deeply, deeply personal to John Krasinski, and I think that's why he chose to direct for the first time. So then to like hear that he was coming back, I was like, oh man, like I hope that he finds a way to bring that same like sincerity, and I feel like he totally did.
Yeah, obviously once we get into spoiler territory, it's something that we'll talk about more, but again, you can just tell how much love he has for this universe and what he's trying to do, because to me, this is a rare sequel that you're just sitting there going, for me at least, I felt like this was absolutely on par for every beat for beat as the first one. I really didn't feel like anything was lost. I feel like there was gain, and I'm hoping we get a trilogy out of this, but it's amazing to see what he's done. And this is a guy who, if all people know him from is The Office, I think maybe that's the most relatable thing for, a common, just a common everyday fan would be, oh, that's Jim from The Office. But man, I tell you what, this guy gets it. Tension, storytelling, cinematography. Like I've been blown away by these two movies with how much this guy understands cinema.
Oh, I completely agree. I'm blown away by him as a director, and I can't, whatever he does next, I don't care what it is, I'm buying tickets, because he just, exactly what you said, he has a way that I would never have expected him to be so good at directing. I was saying in something that I wrote somewhere, I don't remember where, that he reminds me a lot of like Denis Villeneuve, where he's just able to draw out tension in a way that I haven't seen many other directors do. And same thing about the storytelling. He just understands these things that make cinema great, and it's so impressive. I mean, this is the second film he's ever directed, and it's so great.
Yeah. So with all that being said, I told you before we were recording this episode that I was incredibly jealous. For listeners of this show, if you're a longtime listener, welcome back. If you're a first-time listener because of this episode, welcome. Hopefully you stick around and check out some of the other episodes that we have. But Harrison on the Basement Binge did a spoiler-free review of this, and I was insanely jealous because he articulated so well what he felt about the movie and why he liked it. So I'm really excited to get into spoilers about this movie with Harrison. So with that being said, before we get into spoilers, I'd like to do the 2-minute warning portion of our episode where we give our 2-minute thought uninterrupted about how we feel before we get into full spoilers. So, Harrison, why don't you go ahead and tell listeners what you think about this movie overall?
Okay, and spoiler free, right?
Yeah, spoiler free here for the moment.
Want to make sure. Okay, yeah, I have to talk about A Quiet Place, the first one, the original, to be able to talk about the second one. I'm not a fan of like horror movies at all. I'm a wimp. I just don't like them. They scare me too much. So when this film was coming out and it was receiving like tons of buzz, tons of people were telling me to go see it, and I was like, no. Like, I don't want to go see a horror movie. And then I don't remember who it was. Someone finally convinced either me or my wife to go. So we bought tickets like one of the last days that it was in theaters. And we went and saw it and just were blown away by it. And I remember then trying to go and convince my family to watch and be like, no, it's not a normal horror movie. It's so much better than that. And then what later, as I bought it on Blu-ray and watched it multiple times, watched the behind the scenes, that type of stuff, and interviews with John Krasinski, I think one of the reasons that it was successful to people like me who aren't a fan of horror is that it's 100% like a family drama. Like you said, John Krasinski gets storytelling. This is a story about a family, and it's just like wrapped in a horror candy coated shell, so to speak, so that it's marketable. And the way that it combines those two things is so impressive. And one of the interviews he said about the original that we saw in theaters and after interview, he said that he wasn't trying to make a scary movie. He was trying to make a movie about a family that you would care about. And because this family you care about is going through scary things, it will be scary for you. And I feel like that was incredibly successful. So the second one, the reason that I think it's such a great sequel is that it continues that. It is a story about the Abbotts. It's a story about the family. And it's not just like a reset, like, hey, it's the second one, and so we're just kind of going to do the same thing we did in the first one. Like, it's a genuine continuation of the events from the first one. This really does feel like a part 2 of the story, in the way that it's crafted, the way that it's told, and the way that it continues. The actors will do a phenomenal job, and it especially with it being a quiet film, they perform so subtly, and it's amazing. I love the actors' performance in it. It's just incredible, and I love how the story continues, how the lore of the world expands. And Matt, you already mentioned things like the technical side of it, the cinematography, the music, the directing. It's all just exceptional. And a great sequel. I love the way that it continues the story of the characters. And it is so tense. My wife leaned over to me multiple times in the theater. She's like, "We're not buying this movie. It's too scary." Like, I was literally like on the edge of my seat. It's so tense. And it's the same idea where it's a family you care about, and because they're going through horrible things, it's horrible for you, and it's tense. Like, it is scary, but not because it's like scary. It's scary because it's tense. If that makes any sense. And yeah, it's just great. I was blown away by how good this film was. I was worried, like, oh no, how can you beat the second one, or not beat it, but how can you follow up the second one? And they did it, and they did it really well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about this is, Harrison, you mentioned it. You're not a fan of scary movies or anything like that. I am. Any kind of horror movie, if it's the worst B movie, I don't care. I like it. But again, one of the things with liking horror movies and watching them is, nowadays horror movies it's blood and guts or it's jump scares. And that's, to me, that's not why I get excited about a horror movie. It's the tension that you feel. And, like you said, A Quiet Place 1 starts that tension. And when you think about it too, it's unbelievable because that first movie really has no score. And when you think about movies and you think about some of like these epic movies, like, let's say Jurassic Park, let's say The Avengers, Lord of the Rings, whatever else you want to say. And I know those aren't horror movies, but a lot of those movies are enhanced because of the fact that they have these amazing, iconic scores that are linked to those movies. This is a movie between 1 and 2 that, despite the absence of scores, is so well crafted. And I think that even speaks more to how good, Krasinski gets it, because without a score, a lot of things can fall flat. But the fact of the matter is I can't imagine this movie with any more like music than it has, because it just really does. The absolute silence is what's terrifying, because you're left to your own thoughts in these movies, which is what I love. When things are happening, because you're not listening to anything, I'm thinking about, well, what's going to happen? Like, oh my God, no, like get away. Which I absolutely love. So again, I'm blown away by what this guy did. And for anybody now who hasn't seen the movie, if you don't want to be spoiled, please, this is the part where you pause this episode. Whenever you're going to watch the movie, go watch it, and then come back, hit play on this episode again, and you're going to get into spoilers. So, first thing first for me, Harrison, I mentioned this to you with spoilers part of this episode. This is the first time where I live in New York State and in the Buffalo area. Theaters really opened up 3 weeks ago. And it was Spiral from the Book of Saw was the first movie I saw in theaters since Sonic the Hedgehog was the last movie I saw in theaters. And then I saw Spiral from the Book of Saw. And then I saw A Quiet Place 2. And I have been happy with streaming service and watching Kong vs. Godzilla at home and Mortal Kombat and, name the other movies that have come out. This was a movie that I just really said, oh yeah, this is why I love theater. And Harrison, where you are, you've been able to go to the theaters for movies because they've been open much longer than where I have been. But part of the reason that this movie was just, I love the experience, was the theater. And I'm so glad that in my area, they're opening back up. But again, like when you heard all of these directors and these studios saying, they had issues with streaming services and, things need to be seen on the big screen. Boy, I can't help but like agree with them. And again, that's just my opinion, but boy, it was great to be back in theaters.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have had the privilege to be able to go through theaters, specifically like when Tenet came out. I went and saw that in theaters, which was awesome. And then I went to like was it like a 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back in theater with my family, which was super fun, and some other things as well. But this feels like a return to the theaters. And the way that John Krasinski in the QA I watched afterwards said it really well. He kind of wanted to be the bookends of the shutdown. This was one of the first films to be delayed, and he tried to be one of the first films after the delay, if that makes sense. His was kind of the film that started the shutdown of theaters, so to speak, and he wanted to be the one that kind of brought him back, or at least a part of it. And I don't know if it's because like I feel like new movies are actually being released. Like tons of new movies have been released in the past year, but there's something about it that doesn't feel like they have been. And I think it's because I haven't been going to the theater. Like outside of Tenet, anytime I went to the theater, it was for like a re-screening or a movie that had already come out. So it just didn't feel like new movies were coming out, if that makes sense. I wasn't going to get my tickets every weekend or whatever. And so being back in the theater, it was exciting. It was exciting to be there with my wife. We got our popcorn, which we don't do frequently. So, we got popcorn and everything. We made a big deal. And sitting in the theater with that huge screen and the surround sound was just like, I was like, yeah, these directors that were saying you need the theater, like they understand something that I'm getting. And I think it's just because like you said, we watched Godzilla versus Kong at home and we watched this other movie at home and like having such a comparison is great. And one of the things specifically about this film that I'll add on, I'm sorry I'm talking about this Q&A a lot, I just thought it was awesome, was Krasinski. He was talking about how the extended amount of time they had for the delay. The J.J. Abrams was the one who was hosting this QA thing. He was asking him, like, did you change a lot of the things with the delay? And he said, no, the only thing that we had more time to do was the Dolby mix and the mixing the surround sound for theaters. And he said it was super funny. He's like, we went way over the top with it. We'd be like, oh yeah, we're going to have the creature go all the way around, and then we're going to like come back and scare like that guy, and like pointed to some random person in the theater, and like just talked about how they got like super focused with it. And I felt that being in the theater. Like it felt like it was just me and the screen, even though there's more people there. And being with the audience, there's a few jump scares in here that are totally earned, but everyone else being scared with me, hearing people when something happens like the or the reactions of other people just makes it was great. I really love being back in.
Yeah, no, I'm like insanely jealous of that Q&A session that you've been talking about. That's super cool. But one thing that was cool for me, and a lot of people, because I heard them talking after the movie, is a lot of this movie is shot right in my backyard. And there's so many places that are recognizable to somebody who lives in this area that during the movie, again, I just felt like this, I don't know, I guess it's weird to say like swell of pride, but when they're walking on the bridge, that's for our area, that's the Grand Island Bridge. And when they're walking through, one of the first scenes in the movie when they're taking that trip and the bottles drop and they have to start running from the creature. That's Bethlehem steel, which anybody who lives in Buffalo knows what Bethlehem steel is. The baseball diamonds, I was on social media and the one person was like showing a picture of that baseball stadium is right behind my house. That's where they filmed. It was, one person chimed in and said, the baby that's on screen is that baby is my neighbor's child. So that was just like another really cool element for me and other people that were in the theater that was like, oh my God, like this was shot in our area, and seeing all of these locations again, just every time I saw something, I was like, oh, I know that place. I've been there, or I've driven past that. And that was another cool thing that I had that made me enjoy this movie, was just the on-scene locations that I knew about, because such a big portion of this film was filmed in the area that I live. So that was really cool. But
that is cool.
Let's talk about some of the characters, Harrison, because a lot of people come back. One of them who doesn't come back is, well, in the beginning he does, but is John Krasinski's character. But he does make the appearance because we get what happened. We get day one, how these creatures came to Earth, so to speak. And I felt that was perfect. It wasn't overkill. I felt like it was just enough. It looks like a meteor shower brought these creatures to Earth. And I'm wondering if there was a talk during the Q&A. I'm probably going to ask you to reference that a lot here of, did he talk about that decision to explain where they came from, but not actually be like so over the top with it. I felt it worked in the context for what it was.
The only thing he talked about, there was a question about that, and it was weird. He kind of like avoided the question and talked about what he wanted to. He just kind of, the only thing he said was that he's like, all I knew that is if I was going to show how this happened, I didn't want it to just feel like, oh, here's this gratuitous thing of how it happens. I wanted it to where you were experiencing it with the characters. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of just talked about like the camera movement and the decisions behind that, and which he totally like nails, with the camera swinging around in the car with Emily. But that was his main thing, is that so the way he talked about it, I think it was more of like a studio decision. This is a total guess. Because his mindset was like, if I am doing this, I want it to be still a part of the Abbott story where you're experiencing it with them, and not just like, oh, here's how the creatures came type of thing. So, but I agree. I felt like it was just a perfect amount. Like, it was really cool to see where the creatures came from, but like, that's not really what I was interested in. The terror of everyone else reacting was way more interesting than, oh, look, it's a meteor,
Right. Yeah. That, just, and again, like just that buildup when you start seeing the debris in the sky and just the slow movement of everybody being like, okay, game's over, let's get out of here. And then it just, it hits the old expression from 0 to 100 and boom, like, all right, let's everybody go home and we'll figure out what's going on, to everybody is just panicking because these creatures came from out of nowhere and are just ripping people apart. There's so much tension in that opening scene. Again, he gets it, man. He gets how to build tension, and you don't have to see it. You do not have to see the person actually getting like sliced up or anything like that. It's the fear of not knowing what actually happens, but knowing that when these creatures get a hold of somebody, there's no way they're surviving. Like, they're dead. I really like that he not shies away, but he stays away from showing exactly the damage that these creatures do to a human being. Because again, in your mind, it's just it puts it into overload for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like all I needed to see was that creature coming in and like wrecking that cop car, and then everybody just like running for their lives. Yep. Like, that's scarier than like, seeing a creature like mutilate a human type of thing. I love the fear of the dread. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I remember that scene after they kind of drive around, and him and his daughter, they're in like that restaurant or whatever it is, and like everyone's huddled under the tables, and like someone's praying and someone's talking on the phone, and I'm like, who's who's the red shirt in this room? Right. Like, what's gonna happen? And just like the tension of, oh no, like something's gonna happen and I don't know, is way scarier. It's really great.
Yeah, but I just remember there were so many times where I had to like make myself remember to like unclench my fist because my palms were sweating, because I was just anticipating what's going on. How are they going to get out of this situation? And again, this movie has great tension, but you hit on this earlier, that he wanted to tell a story about a family who's going through something scary, so you relate to the family and it's scary for you. And at the heart of this movie, just like the first one, is the Abbott family, who are accompanied by a character named Emmett, who's played by Cillian Murphy, who, the more and more I see from this guy and remembering things that he's been in before, boy, I forget how good of an actor Cillian Murphy is. And he is a great addition to this cast, and somebody that the Abbott family knew before this world turned upside down. This family, you feel for them throughout the movie. And again, they do it with, most of the time, the characters are not speaking. They are just so relatable. You want this family to get through this. Like, I genuinely cared every single second they were on screen and what happened to them. When the son gets his leg caught in the bear trap, Marcus, like, I really thought that was it. I was like, oh my God, not another one. Like, she's going to have to witness another one of her kids taken by this monster. Boy, yeah. You care about this family so much. And what a story for the kids, both by the end of the movie, slightly going towards the end, coming into their own, so to speak, and really embracing the fact that, okay, we have to step up. More so the son is on the later end, but the daughter, from the second this movie starts, she has a plan of what she's going to do, and she's brave, and holy cow, like,
Yeah.
It's just written. That character is written so well.
Yeah. I'm so impressed with the writing because, like, I mean, we know sequels. There are so many examples where it's just like, hey, we're making a second one. Let's just do the same thing we did before, but we'll change a little bit. Like, the character motivations aren't consistent. Growth that the characters have aren't there. And the film starts with Reagan, I think is the daughter's name, going up.
Yep,
Doesn't
Reagan.
start, but she goes up and like lights the fire to see if anybody else does, to find the safe area to go where other people are. It's just like, you can see that this is the consistent character with the first film, who wanted to help her dad, who wanted to be a part of her dad, but felt almost like she couldn't because she didn't have his love, or she was dealing with her grief of the younger son being killed. And the second that he's gone, she just rises to the occasion to just protect her family. And it's just like, yeah, that's the character from the first film. And the emotion behind everything. It's not just like, oh, we need our protagonist, we need the character who progresses the story or whatever. Everything feels so genuine to the emotions of the character, where they feel like actual people responding to the situation instead of just characters, which is so interesting to say about a movie, because like everybody feels like a character. And I agree, like going back to that scene you mentioned earlier where Marcus is hurt, like I felt like that was like a mom reacting to her son, not just like two actors interacting. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy.
Yeah, that's I'm so you to me that is articulated perfectly, where yes, we know we're watching a movie, but like you said, everything feels genuine. The emotions that these characters show, everything feels earned. Everything feels like a natural progression. It doesn't feel like all of a sudden like, whoop, somebody just became unstoppable, or there's a MacGuffin in the script to get this person from A to B. Like everything flows, everything feels like it is a genuine reaction. It feels like, like Emily Blunt, it feels like this kid and this daughter are actually her son and daughter. That when she talks to Emmett, who again, like for being a new character, his character progression, it feels earned that he goes from, I'm sorry, I can't help you, you have to leave, to going and defending this family. It feels like he genuinely has a realization that this is the right thing to do. And the line to him about, you said you couldn't do anything more. Well, now here's your chance to do something. It works. It's emotional. When, Marcus tells Reagan, don't do this. I'll tell mom. Like, I felt that. I felt that emotion of like, I don't want to lose my sister. Like he genuinely was sad that he could lose somebody else. And telling her like, you can't do this. You'll not. He didn't say she'll fail, but like basically, you can't go out there and survive on your own. Please don't do this. And her saying, I have to try. Again, it's like, it didn't feel like, oh, they were just writing this girl to be strong because, oh, we need a strong character. It felt like she naturally progressed and was dealing with the situation like, a person in real life would have, based on it. It's so good. I can't say enough about how well these characters are written.
Oh, I agree. And to have that character, who is a strong character, be someone who's deaf with like such a horrible disability that would be so difficult in genuine, just original life, having that be the strong character is so genuine at the same time. Like, this is a person who has lived with a hardship and has just had to just live with it, so to speak. Like, having that person being the one who has a little bit more bravery, it's like, it just feels so genuine and authentic to these people who find themselves in this horrible situation.
Right. Exactly. When they sit there and that train sequence where the monster is coming through the train, again, that was, I talked about, I had to like look at myself and tell myself to ungrip unclench my fist. That was just, oh my God, my heart was racing during that scene. And then, again, Emmett just coming in and caring for her, but her telling him like, we have to go back. And she's like, no, I have to try. And then the heartbreak for a second of her thinking that he left her behind. And again, there's no music, there's no sound, but she's just, you can see in like that second, she is devastated. And then he comes, you see his boots on camera. And I just, again, like a swell of pride and like happiness just overwhelmed me in the theater of like, oh my God, like, yeah, like, yes, like this is like, what a good guy. Thank goodness he's back. They're going to do this. I feel so much emotion for these characters, and I need a trilogy for this because I trust John Krasinski to do the right thing. I need this to be a trilogy film and cap this off, because I feel like the way it ends, again, it's a natural progression to lead it into a third film, and where these characters have taken another step to say, we need to like take back Earth, so to speak.
Yeah. I will say, in one of the Q&A things that John mentioned, is that there is a third one being made. It's sadly not directed or written by John Krasinski. He's producing it. He's one of the producers, but Jeff Nichols is writing and directing the third Quiet Place. So I'm super excited. When he said, he just kind of like slowly dropped it, like, oh yeah, we're making a third. And I was like, what?
So casual.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited because I agree. I think that this is a part, like, this is part 2 of the first story, and this second story deserves a part 3. Because I love these characters. Like, I feel like I care about their well-being so much. Like, I when the movie ended, I know we're jumping like way ahead, but like the ending scene when I forget her name now, when Reagan like pulls the pole out of the monster and it like goes to black. I was like, what? That's it? Like, how do they get back together? Is Emmett okay? Right. Like, what about his leg? Like, I have to know about these people. Like, I need a third. I agree.
Yeah, I that screen hit, and I was like, what? I was like the same reaction with you, like, what? Wait a minute, what's going on? And then, yeah, I simmered down a little bit, started thinking about the movie, and was like, okay, and that is, to me, for listeners of the show, Rob and I did an episode previously on Mortal Kombat, where that is supposed to be, thank you, that is supposed to be a trilogy. But part of my problem with Mortal Kombat is I felt they made that movie with a lot of it being a teaser for something to come, and forgot to make a very good movie in the first place, so you would want to see where those teasers lead. This is a movie, and this is a series where you want this 1 and 2 stand on their own. If you never got a sequel to 2, or if you never got a sequel to 1, I don't think it would lose anything over time. I don't think you would have somebody go, well, it's not as good because they never did a sequel, or, well, I don't like it as much because I'd like to see this. You could watch that, again, just my opinion, and say, this is just a really good film. Where with Mortal Kombat, I'm like, well, I'd have to see the next one to see how I feel about the setup in the first one. If this ended with 2, I could still look back at these and say, these are incredible movies. I would have liked to have seen the third one, but man, what we got in 1 and 2 is fantastic. And I don't necessarily need the third one to say that I enjoy this. That's what's so impressive about these, is I want a sequel because of how well it is, not because of things that are left unsaid.
Exactly. I could not say better.
So that is, that's why I'm hoping the third one, because I did hear that potentially maybe it won't be a direct follow-up to this one, that it could be an indication of other people who are going through the experience of this universe, which I think,
Oh,
you could, depending on what's going on, make some anthology films out of this franchise
right.
if they're written like this, like, well, this is the Abbott family's experience, and this is the Johnson's family experience. Granted, I would like to see what happens with the Abbott family, but this is a franchise where I think if Krasinski stays involved, this is something that could spread and have multiple entries that are fantastic. But one thing I do want to talk about, and Harrison, maybe you can clear this up for me, because I do have one small complaint about this movie, and it's regards to the island that they eventually travel to. Now, my question with that is, and maybe I missed something, so maybe you can clarify for me, is everything leading up to that is tension at its max. When they throw the bottle necklace, like whatever you want to call it, over Emmett, and he can't
Oh,
move, and just again, the uneasy feeling of that guy going and looking at Reagan and touching
oh
her.
my gosh.
I like, I literally was like, I could feel it in my stomach where I was just like, I can't even begin to fathom what this scene is, because again, just how well he frames everything. Everything is deliberate. Everything is there to evoke emotion. Everything about
Yeah.
this movie does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I like honestly, like, it might sound like that's just a really simple statement, but if you've seen this movie, I'm sure you know what Harrison and I mean, that there's nothing out of place to me in this movie about the tension or the filming, anything about it. So you get that scene on the dock. My one problem is, how would the boat just randomly traveled to that island with the monster on it? Like, how did he get there? Because if he was on the boat with Emmett and Reagan, why would he not attack them on the boat? So again, Harrison, maybe I missed something, but how did that boat get to the island so that we could have another scene where the monster, this creature goes through and more people lose their lives? I did I miss something there?
I kind of had the same thought. I know that it's like two different boats, like Emmett and Reagan are on one, and then the creature is on a separate one. But
Right.
my thought was like when Emmett comes around the corner and like sees that boat with the claw marks in it, and I was like, oh no, like that's the boat that the creatures were on. My next thought was like, well, how the heck did it get there? But I also have to say that when it showed Reagan and Emmett showing up on the island in their little boat, I was like, how in the world did they get there? Because their boat didn't look very like it had much oomph behind it. Um,
Right.
I don't even think it had a sail. So I wonder if it's just like kind of one and the same. I do feel like that was the weakest point. Like, oh, it just so happens this boat just kind of drifted over to this island. Um, but I don't know. I think it's just kind of like, I don't know. I'm trying to justify it.
Right.
Yeah, it drifted over the winds of fate.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But again, like, that is honestly, like, that was such a small portion overall
Yeah,
that it's easily, honestly, like, overlooked, because there was like that sense of hope when they get to that island of, oh my God, like, these people are outside having bonfires and
yeah,
just like literally living a normal life, not like, whatever, 30 miles off the water, there's just horrific things happening every single day. And, it gives you that sense of hope, but then you're just sitting there going, oh man, like, now that was destroyed. So
Yeah.
Again, just a great scene. Once the monster does reach the island, how he gets there is a little questionable, but once he is there, again, it's Tension City. What's going to happen? And the ending sequence to this movie, again, it's just like the same thing. It works. You're uneasy. What's going to happen? But man, having this movie, again, how else could this movie end? And everything is so perfect, but with the two kids stepping up and being, Marcus and Reagan stepping up and being the ones that say, we're saving the adults. I thought it was so critical to have the movie end like that. Looking back on it, how else could this movie have ended but with those two, both for different reasons, how they got there in their journey, but both of the kids being the ones who step up and save the, family from the situation that they're in.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember it's like going through the events of the ending, and it's kind of focused on Reagan for a little bit and her confronting the monster. And then it gets to the point where she finally puts the cochlear on the microphone, so it starts broadcasting. And then it kind of, she does her thing, and then it jumps back to Marcus and Emily's character Evelyn in that oven thing, whatever it is. And I was like, oh, he's going to hear the feedback because he still has this radio on. And then I was like, what is he going to do? I was like, is he just going to put the radio at the end of the oven opening and just hope that the monster goes away? Genuinely, I was not expecting him to get up and confront the creature.
Right.
And so when he did, and the music, that leitmotif that comes in with the music is so great. And it just, I was surprised. I was moved to tears by that scene, which I was not expecting. And I feel kind of weird saying, but it was just genuine, wow, this is the ending to the movie. And it totally fits, and it's totally deserving. What a great ending. Because it fits, and it was natural, but at the same time, it felt like a difficult, hard-earned victory for the character of Marcus and Reagan as well, but specifically Marcus in that situation. I was like, wow, yes, this movie needs to end this way, and it is. It was almost like I am so glad that I'm seeing what I am. I love the ending of this movie.
Yeah, it's because you knew Reagan was strong. Obviously, that was a known fact. Right. And I'm not saying that as a slight against Marcus and that he was weak, but obviously he had some difficulties throughout the movie. But yeah, again, just it didn't feel like, oh, we're just doing this so that he's a strong character. No, it felt like an earned moment that this was the time when he realized I need to step up and do something as well. And I think it ties into the fact that to me, maybe I'm just grabbing at straws here, but he did not think that his sister would make it. At this point, he still doesn't know what's going on with her. And you can see in his face when he hears that broadcast, oh my God, that's, that's her. Oh my God, she's alive. She's made it. It was okay. Almost like she inspired him to be more than he had been up to that point. Look what she's done. She managed to get there. Now I have to step up and I have to save us so that we can be together. She's done all this to potentially find a way for us to be safe. I need to do my part now so that we can get to her and we can we can be reunited.
Yeah, I agree with you. I felt like he overcame because of his sister's example and how inspired he was by her. I completely agree.
Yeah. So, the movie ends on that note, which we said is just, it's always 2020, but man, it seems like a perfect ending. You have darn near, for me, a perfect movie, minus honestly that one little caveat with the creature getting to the island. I sat there and I've thought about this movie from day one of me seeing it, which was the 27th. I saw it the night well, I saw it the Thursday before the Friday of like the worldwide release of it.
Right.
And I went to a 9:20 showing. And this movie, and not just because I was getting, situated to record this episode, this movie has dominated a lot of my thoughts because it's so good on every level. And again, it's one of the rare occasions where, to me, this movie and the first movie just stand together. I can't pinpoint, well, yeah, I like the first one more, I like the second more, which is so rare.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially what you just said about how it kind of coming into your thoughts. You kind of joked at the beginning about how I was able to prepare my podcast. I saw it the same day that you did. It was a Thursday, and it wasn't until like a week later that I finally had some time to record it, which was like so frustrating me. But besides that, I sat down to like type out my notes and prepare the episode, and it was the shortest amount of time I've ever spent preparing an episode, and it just like came out of my brain. It was like, this is perfect. Like, I don't need to revise it. I don't like this is what I have to say. And I didn't click until just barely what you said. I think it's because I just, not like, oh, I need to prepare the episode, like let me think about things, but it was just genuine. I couldn't stop thinking about what I thought about the movie. I couldn't stop thinking about the movie. I couldn't stop having ideas about it. And I didn't put that together until right now. It's kind of amazing when a movie is impressive or special enough to just occupy your thoughts so naturally.
Yeah, and that's a perfect word. It's naturally been on my mind since I have seen it. And I told people that I work with, oh, what'd you think? And I said, honestly, if I didn't need you at work, I'd tell you just to go down the street and go to the theater right now and see it. That's how good it is. Like, I'd let you leave work if we weren't busy. And yeah. I had buddies that went and saw it, and they, the next day we were at work together, and it was just the same thing that you and I are talking about, just like almost in awe of how did this guy do it? Because again, if all John Krasinski for is The Office, it's amazing what this guy has done. And Harrison, you said, whatever he does next, I'm going to buy, like, I'm buying tickets. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
He could be attached to the live action remake of The Little Mermaid. And I'd be like, well, he's got to he's got to be doing something good. Like, but I don't know if you've ever played this game or heard of it, but based on A Quiet Place. So for any listeners that have played it, this guy, he, to me, if they do a movie, has to do The Last of Us.
I haven't played that game, but I've heard so many people say that.
Yeah, it's just the way that game, and like, he could play Joel, like, so he could kind of do what he did with A Quiet Place. But yeah, if they do a Last of Us movie, the way that he films and just everything that he has done for tension, that is the movie that they need to give this guy whatever he says he needs. Don't interfere with him from the studio, and let this guy make The Last of Us, because he would get it. And it would probably be the first time that a video game movie is 100% genuinely good. So Harrison, if you ever do get a chance to play the first one, 100% I would. The second one's a mixed bag. There's a lot of debate on that one.
I have heard about that. I've sadly never played it, but I want to just see whatever he does next. And I just have to throw this in. He just, like, again, he was just like throwing things out during this live Q&A thing. He had never watched a horror film prior to making the first film. He's like, I made the first film without knowing anything about the genre. And I was like, what? How? What? And then he kind of mentioned how he just has binged watched horror films since then for the second one. But like, wow, he hadn't seen a single one. He made that.
Right.
This guy's got talent that I don't understand. And the way he talked about, I wish I had the words that he did to describe what it feels like as he's creating a scene. And specifically, he talked a lot about how he enjoyed this film being a silent film and how him and the cast genuinely learned sign language and learned how to communicate quietly and silently. Because he said, I loved being in the scenes with them because I could direct without interrupting the acting. And he said it felt like there was something rising off the floor because it was so powerful and taking shape. Just, I don't know. He just crafts things in a way that I've never heard other directors talk about. And maybe it's just because he's John Krasinski and everybody has their uniquenesses about them. But there's just something that was like, what? Why is he so good at this? What? Like, how does he get it that I don't?
Yeah. He's very well spoken, and again, I'm super jealous of that Q&A that you were a part of, because it would have just been so cool, even if it was just little tidbits, to hear him. I'm curious, during that Q&A, because I read an interview a couple days ago where he talked about the bus scene and how that took, I think he said something like 3 days of planning to figure out how fast the bus was going, because the bus was literally driving 40 miles per hour at his wife and the kids in the car. And he said, kudos to her because she fully trusted me. They never did a take for it. She said, okay, no, let's just get in the car and let's roll. But that was so cool to hear him talk about, well, the bus is going 40 miles per hour and we spent 3 days coming up with, okay, this is how fast it has to go. These are the kind of brakes that we need. And there was so much time and effort into planning this one scene. And it's literally 1 minute and 30 seconds long that took, three full days of planning to make sure that it was right. And then him just like gushing about his wife on how trusting she is. And, he's like, I'm surprised I'm not divorced. Yeah. But, any other things like that were in the Q&A that kind of, anything else that really stood out to you?
I'll just talk about that scene a little bit more. I think it's just crazy the amount of work that went in it, because they have this arm. I'm sure you've seen it. If you haven't, look up MKBHD's video about it on YouTube. This robotic arm that you can use to film things. In essence, it's this big arm that holds a camera, and it's not like being used live, if that makes sense. Like, you program in a bunch of coordinates and the ways you want the camera to move, and then you hit go, and then it moves. So there's no improvisation or reaction to something. So like if you're late or you're not on time, like the camera's going to miss you because it's moved to the other pre-programmed area or whatever. And he mentioned how it took so much planning because they hit go on the camera, and then everybody from the extras and the stunts and the drivers and the actors and the production, like everything has to be perfect or else the camera's going to miss it. The other cool thing that I thought was awesome is the end of that, when Emily Blunt throws it in reverse and she's like looking back, hauling backwards because this bus is coming at her. The camera on that little robot arm like broke. The rig broke. And so the camera accidentally starts to pan in or push in. I keep saying pan, but push in on her face. And it's just like perfect. He said it's like the best mistake he's ever made, but that was not planned. Like the rig broke and made a perfect push in on Emily's face that just captures that reaction so well. And he's like, yeah, he said, I think that camera loves my wife as much as I do. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, that was great. The other, well, now I just lost what I was going to say. Oh, the other thing that I thought was really, really cool is, this is a super duper small thing, that scene where Reagan's character is in the train and then she looks out that giant hole in the train and sees all those other trains wrecked and like all the wreckage. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
So that when she looks out the train hole, it's a painting, like a matte painting like they did like way back in the day. It's a digital painting that they added through post, but it's an actual painting that was done, a piece of art that was done that was then added in, which I thought was way cool. That he was like, he talked a lot about his inspiration through Steven Spielberg, and he's like, I loved how they used to have these matte paintings on set. He's like, I wanted to do something like that, so I had to find a way to include it. And I was like, wow, good for you, man. Like, he just has such like a authentic vision about what he wants to craft, and he goes and does it.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm always fascinated by things like that, and just that is so cool. Yeah, wow, that's awesome. How did you? So I guess I just have a follow-up question on that. How did you search that out? Like, is that something that was like sent to you because of an email, or like how did you know that was gonna like happen and find a way to get to that screen, like that showing?
It was not marketed very well. In fact, I only found it by accident. I don't know if you have Cinemark theaters in New York, but it's like the biggest chain theater here in Utah is Cinemark.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a membership through them and whatever. So I just went on the Cinemark app to get tickets, and I'm scrolling through the movies, and there's 2 Quiet Place posters right next to each other. So I was like, there was 2 different options for A Quiet Place Part 2. And I was like, what is this? So I clicked on both of them to see the difference in one of them. And the second one said A Quiet Place Part 2 with live Q&A with John Krasinski. And I was like, what?
Whoa,
like, what is this? And it was
it?
only at one specific time. It was Thursday, that Thursday, the 27th, that it was like 6 p.m. my time, which is 5 p.m. Eastern time. So it was like all at the same time, like a bunch of theaters were involved in it. And he was in somewhere in California, and it was just broadcasted to all the theaters. So you had to get a screening for a specific time. And it was the only time that it was done, but I totally found it by mistake. And like, even afterwards, when I saw it, I was like, what is this? Like, is he showing up in person? Like, is it a pre-recorded thing? What the heck is going on? Is it going to be before the movie, after the movie? I tried to find things about it. Literally the only thing I could find was like a 30-second video on a Facebook page that a theater in like Wyoming posted. And I was like, what? Why is this not being marketed? Like, this is the most interesting thing. Why is the only thing I find about a Facebook page from a Wyoming theater? And it was like a video of John saying like, welcome back to the theaters. As part of the welcome, I'm going to be there to talk about the movie afterwards. And that was all that I found. So I totally found it by happenstance, but I was so grateful I did.
Wow, yeah. The closest Cinemark that we have is in Rochester, so not really not really close to where I am. It's not like a terrible drive, but I don't think I would ever make the drive for that. But with that being said, give me your closing thoughts on this movie, and how does this rate for you, Harrison?
How many reels would I give it? I'd confidently given it 4.5 reels. Like, it's just, I'm blown away by how good it is and how much I enjoy it, especially with being a wimp about horror. Like, my wife and I were in the theater, and she kept looking at me like, we are not buying this movie. It is too scary. And I was like, yeah, this is terrifying. Like, we were both scared out of our wits. But then we walked out of the theater, and I was like, wow, that was amazing. So it's just so impressive. I mean, there are a few moments, kind of like we talked about, where I was like, like, that's like, if I think about it too much, I don't like it. But I don't think about those things because there's so much about it that I love, specifically the end, like we already talked about, and the themes of that, of the youth kind of rising to the occasion. And I just think it's amazing. So 4.5 reels, confidently, I can give this film.
Yeah, I'm right there. For listeners of the show, I rate this, I put this on my Letterboxd account, and I definitely 4.5. It's just, again, it's a horror movie, but it is a movie about family and the love that they have for each other to survive and to keep each other safe that drives this story. And it's added onto with the friendship that a character, Emmett, had with this family before everything, went to hell, so to speak, in this world that they live in. But, this movie, we've talked about it, it does everything so well. I really hope we get a continuation of this. I'm excited to see what this third one will be. If it's going to be a follow-up to this one, if it's going to be kind of an anthology film with a different family or different people going through these experiences, I hope to see more from this world. But Harrison, you've been working on some things. I know you've been watching some series. So before we sign off here, because I'm excited about a lot of this stuff in the pipeline. So for listeners, Harrison's show will be in the notes of this episode, so that way you can check his show out, because I would highly, highly recommend it. He's got some amazing things on his channel to check out. But Harrison, why don't you let people know about what's coming up? Because I know I'm excited for it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. So obviously I've got an episode on A Quiet Place Part 2, like we talked about. Coming up very, very soon in the next few days is an episode on Cruella, the new Disney film. I've seen it twice now because I was just so surprised by it that I wanted to show it to my wife's family. We both just, I won't say more than that I was just like, that is one of the most entertaining films I've ever seen. And I was just blown away by it. So I just have some things to say about it that I'm excited to. But separate from that, I've been working on the Fast and Furious series, which I've never seen before. And it is so interesting to watch. So I'm very, very excited to do the episodes on that, trying to get them out before Fast 9. And also, hopefully, if we can make it work, we've still got to plan on my schedule, but get Matt and Rob to join me as well for those films, because they're nuts. I still don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm excited.
Are you amazed, quick little sidebar, at how realistic they are?
What are you talking about? I was watching the first one. I've only watched the first one. That's as far as I got because I've been so busy. But there's this scene, like the race scene when like the first street race where he goes to like the street race that he has, and like they hit the NOS, and it's like, what the, I didn't know NOS was light speed. Like, what the heck is going on? and then his computer is like, danger to manifold, and I'm like, how does his computer know that? And second, what the heck is a manifold? And then his floor just falls out. It's like, what the heck am I watching? How has this made 9 films? I don't know. Maybe something happened, but how is there 9 films out of this?
Yeah, just wait, because it gets wild. But no, I will make myself available for any of the episodes that you would like to have me on for, because I could not wait to talk about a couple of those if we get the chance. So
definitely,
that's exciting. And then anything else besides the Fast series that you're working on?
No, that's it. I know that you and I were planning to do the Loki series together, which I'm super pumped for. So, but that's how I kind of got in the pipes right now, because I originally wasn't going to do the Fast series, and then like the Fast 9 trailer came out, and I watched it, and I was like, this is the most ridiculous trailer I've ever seen. Like, this looks extremely entertaining in the weirdest way. Like, I got to see this series so I can see the 9th film. So it kind of just, all my other plans were kind of shuffled out of the way so I can get all these other 8 Fast and Furious films in there before the 9th one.
Yeah, that is a lot to take in and try and get through those 8 films before Fast 9 comes out. So I'll be looking forward to that. I'm definitely looking forward to Cruella. I have not been able to see that yet, but I really do actually want to go see that. So I'll probably check that out sometime this coming week, maybe this coming Friday, because I'm actually off from work. So that'll be interesting.
Oh, there you go.
But like Harrison said, I am really excited not only for that, but Harrison and Rob as well will join this show for Loki. And I know with WandaVision, we had a ton of fun. We had a lot of fun with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I'm excited to keep the streak alive, so to speak, about doing these Marvel shows. And boy, we are... what, Harrison? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We're 4 days away from.
I know
Loki
it's on a Wednesday.
Like Loki coming out. We'll be recording those episodes on Thursday, so that'll be interesting because, you know, Harrison, thinking about it, we had to take days in between WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier to talk to each other about it, and now it'll be the very next day that we're able to get together and give our thoughts. So I'm wondering if that will, I'm wondering if that will change anything about the way that we talk about that show, given that it's going to be immediately pretty much after the episode airs. So I'm super excited for that.
I really wonder if Rob is going to get his double watch in like he always did. I'll
Right.
be surprised if he can keep up that streak. But our vague texts won't be as frequent because we'll just get on the next.
Right. Exactly. So that'll be really exciting. So, again, listeners, thank you so much. I've had a blast doing A Quiet Place too. Again, check out The Basement Binge. It's a great show. I've said it once. I'll continue to say it. It's the inspiration for why I started my podcast in the first place. So, follow the links in the show notes to check out some of Harrison's episodes. He's got some amazing, amazing reviews on basically, really, you cover a wide range of movies, which I love. So be sure to check that. So be sure to check that out. Thank you for listening. And we will see you very, very soon on another edition of Matt Goes to the Movies. Thanks, listeners.